All right. Well, hello. Oh, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Tipple's Wine of the Week virtual wine tasting with Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wines in Gainesville, Florida. Thank you for joining us. This week, we are going to be drinking the Mourvèdre Bobal, an old vine. Bobal is the grape.
I saw the password.
You saw the password?
Because Linda put it out in the WOW group.
Yes. Okay.
So
yes,
good. I very much like the password.
Oh, good. Thanks. Yes. Bobal Fett.
Mm-hmm.
The dad jokes do not end. You can only blame yourselves. You guys keep coming. Like suddenly I just want to like tap the thing, hey, and throw the pen, like David Letterman. All right.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, well, that's me. So Bobal, why Bobal, right? We're going to talk about why we're drinking a Bobal.
Are we going to pour it?
If you have not already done so, please go ahead and pop your bottle open.
Like watching
pour
other
yourself
people
a
drink.
glass of wine. I like to bring it down to cellar temperature to
Thank
start.
you.
It's going to warm up to Floridian house temperature at about 74 for us, but around 60 degrees to start. I give it 30 minutes in the refrigerator to chill and pop the sucker open and give it a moment to breathe. This is a 2017, so it will take a solid breath. And let's jump over to the slide. We'll talk about food pairings and ratings, if any.
We actually have pairings tonight.
We do, thanks to some
Linda and Paul.
the wonderful Roca Foxes.
The Roca Foxes.
Yes, I made that up tonight. Hashtag Roca Fox.
Roca Fox, not Foxifort or something. I like Fox better. Of course.
And so it begins with Jeff's name.
Yep,
That's right.
Exactly. They will forever be the Roca Foxes.
That's right.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Jeff.
Paul, you're done, man. Okay, so we're this is from Valencia, Spain, a new region for us.
Yes.
That we have not explored yet. Ratings, too small a producer. All right, no ratings on this guy.
Okay.
Not enough of the wine produced. It hasn't been put out for ratings. Food pairings, calabrese sausage, one of my faves, beef stew, paella, and barbecue meats.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, why, and what this wine reminds me very much of a different wine that we've had.
Okay.
From a different region. We'll talk about that later on. The varietal on this is 100% Bobal. Alcohol content, 13%. So,
Sure.
modest-ish for a red. Nothing wrong with that. Age-worthy. Yes, up to around 10 years, but really not for going beyond 10, right? So I would call it a modest ager, but certainly age-worthy.
So we're almost right in the center since we're at the end of 2021. You said it's
Right.
2017.
So this is 14.
Oh, 14.
Yeah. So
okay. I thought you said
we're getting
17.
there. So
Okay.
it's good and ready.
So yes.
And this is a wine that would present itself well the entire journey, that you could drink the whole time. But, it's obviously there are wines out there that you can pick up off of any retail store shelf that aren't meant for even 3 years, even if they are red.
Right.
But this guy can handle 10 because it's just got enough going on. And it's got enough. Well, let's jump back. We'll talk about our initial thoughts. I'll talk about why, what is in here that is making me think it can age 10 years. So really nice, kind of a raspberry red currant, which is, kind of a red grape kind of thing, nose. I would go a little smoky and a little bit of what I would call fruit leather. So fruit leather is fruit skin. So if you would picture like the skin of a blueberry, that kind of a thing, it's got a savory quality to it. But I would definitely go all red fruit on the palate. Nice tannins. Like they coat the palate.
Definitely.
And still, like we're talking about 14 to 21, really nice acidity.
Okay. So their cork came out super easy.
Interesting. No, mine was spot on. actually shockingly spot on for, it's, I had almost 10 years in there and it's beautiful. Interesting. Hopefully everything's all right with that bottle. The variations of using natural materials, right?
Yep. I can feel the tannins, Chris and Robin, there's just pretty normal. I can feel the tannins. I've said this before, but sometimes I only feel it like on my tongue, on the palate, but I'm feeling it. And I don't know if it's because I'm swishing more or whatever, but like on the insides of my lips and things.
Okay.
Is that a thing where you feel it more in more places, or am I just sometimes I'm
No,
drinking
actually,
one way into
that is a common descriptor difference,
Really?
right? So within tannins, you can have tannins that say, oh, bites in the front, back of the palate, pushes all the way through the back, maybe it stops in the mid-level.
Mhm.
So feeling it in different areas of your mouth is a thing.
Okay. All right. Well, cool.
Yep. Somebody broke theirs in half. Oh, the Hogsets did. Were you over muscling it? Come on. What were you using?
Harriet was like making a reel for training, and she's like, and this is how you
Right,
grab the wine
she's
cork
like-
down. Rah, and she just ripped it in half.
Using like an electric one. Yeah, boom.
Yeah, there you go.
It broke. Right.
So ours, I'm getting a lot more like raisiny and chocolatey notes than I am
And the
red
Hogsets as well.
fruits. Like like there's definitely an element of red fruit, like maybe some strawberry or raspberry, but like
Mhm.
mostly I smell this and I'm getting like a little bit more, like raisin, brown sugar, balsamic, chocolate. Like
How long has yours been open?
about 7:30, so 30.
Yeah, so 45 minutes.
And ours
Yeah.
has been open
Five.
5.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, and that is the
Could've
difference,
changed.
right? So that's the evolution. I know, and I know where we're going because I've had this wine
Mhm.
obviously in the past.
Mhm.
And then I popped one open about a week ago before I decided whether I wanted this Bobal to be what we had.
Okay.
So yes, it does evolve nicely.
Mhm.
I mean, it's been in the bottle for a bit, so it does take a significant breath and it changes. And it does become like more of that, which is a little bit more true to form with this. It's a little bit more of that cocoa, espresso, dried
As
grape.
it opens.
Yeah, as it opens up. But the tannins hang out, which I think is great because I love the structure on this wine. It's not just all about the fruit and the spice. You get good structure. This guy can hang out with some nice like some pork charcuterie. There we go.
Would you like
I think on the
some?
nose, you definitely get like a combo of a really dried fruit,
Mhm.
a dried cherry, almost dates, and a smokiness combo.
Mhm.
I get prunes. That was my big thing.
Yeah, it's that dried fruit thing, which can go really, really well with things like brisket and that kind of thing, because you're getting those, that really tasty, sharper, roasted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like brisket, like a slow roasted.
Yeah, almost like the burnt
savory,
tips kind of
yeah,
thing.
mhm.
Yeah.
So if Harriet's getting prunes,
Right.
and then Chris is getting raisins, that's kind of the same.
Yes,
like that,
absolutely the
yeah.
same thing. Right. It's different descriptors of the exact same thing.
Mhm.
Where I would say like a dried cherry.
Mhm.
It's a dried fruit
Okay.
kind of thing. Yeah. So
And
you
you-
talk about a very ripe, going all the way into like a dried version of that fruit. Even though there's acidity in here, which I think is kind of a fun juxtaposition. So you get there is tartness on this guy,
Sure.
right? Which is part of what makes it age worthy. That and the tannins. So you've got this very ripe, very dried fruit quality.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you've got fresh tartness, and it didn't take away the acid.
Right.
It's not an overripe fruit. It's a quality, it's character of that fruit.
So that tartness and the tannins are what makes it age worthy, because the 13% you would think maybe not.
Exactly.
Okay.
13% could be holding it back.
Mhm.
It's not, 14 and a half.
Okay.
But clearly it had good tannins and it has nice acidity, because even with that interesting combo we're getting, which I think gives it really a kind of a unique character, where we're
yeah.
talking about dried fruit and tartness at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so,
So we've probably discussed this before, but I know that you don't want to age white wine.
Not usually, unless it's a Riesling.
Okay.
Mhm.
And are Rieslings higher in alcohol content? Is that why you can age them? Why? Sugar?
Sugar.
Okay.
Higher sugar content allows it to. Higher acid is the most
Okay.
important.
All right.
So they have high acid,
Mhm.
and then the high sugar actually helps them out.
Because this is a really dumb question. So you guys can cover your ears
doubt
if you
it.
want to. I'm sure it is. So because if we're looking for three things for age worthiness, we're looking for high acidity,
Right?
we're looking for tannins,
Yes.
we're looking for alcohol content.
Those are the big three.
Those are the big three. Secondarily, sugar.
Right.
Okay. So there are no white wines that have tannins, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So it already doesn't have one of the big three.
Exactly.
Right there.
One of the most important of the big
Okay.
three. The acidity
Mhm.
is what allows some of it, right?
Okay.
And white wine tends to be lower alcohol. If that one gets
Well,
tossed out
that's
too,
what I was
right?
going to say too. So
Which is
then
why
you're
so
just
few-
looking for something with acid or high sugar.
Yes, usually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, because I've had some really nice aged Chardonnay,
Mhm.
but it's a high acid Chardonnay on the way
Okay.
in, right? Not an overripe. You go with like a really warm growth, warm,
Mhm.
tropical, juicy Chardonnay.
Mhm.
You need to drink that guy in about 3 years, maybe 5 at the most.
Okay. Probably too, if you're drinking a Chardonnay that has aged, it didn't start out as $10 a bottle.
Right. No, we're talking, most Chardonnay. and
50 or more.
It jumps
Like,
up.
that's a high,
Right,
like, that's
yeah.
an expensive Chardonnay, right?
Yeah, when you get to Chardonnay
Mhm.
that can age, you're going to go with expensive Chardonnay.
Okay.
And it jumps up more than most. Like
Mhm.
there are reds, like for example, this guy can hang out for a bit, and we're talking about under $20.
Mhm.
But with white wines, it tends to be more expensive. The Rieslings are kind of an exception. They can definitely hang out for a bit.
Is that our recent? I know I'm asking white questions, but
Mhm.
are Rieslings just German?
No,
No.
mm-mm,
Okay.
no. We've got
Alright.
some great New Zealand and Australian Rieslings in the
Oh,
store.
Okay.
Get them from cooler areas of California and in the West Coast, all over, all the way up. So
Are the grapes from Germany originally?
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
All the grapes.
Yeah, the
Alright.
vines are grass
Sorry.
from Germany. Yeah,
The vines. Okay. We can get back to this one now.
great. All right, let's go to this. Let's go to the show. Let's go to the slides.
The
please.
slides, you would like the slides?
I would.
Okay.
So this intriguing wine, I think it's intriguing. I hope you guys do too. Let's see what's the story behind this guy. So here we are. Why are we drinking Bobal? Bobal is Spain's third most popular grown grape wine. Technically the second. Why do I say that, right? Aaron is their number one, but Aaron is the grape used to make brandy. So they make a wine out of it, and then they distill that into brandy. So that's not really a wine, right? So yes, it's a wine grape, and I have had an Aaron wine, but it's unusual. So throw that one out.
Okay.
Tempranillo is the second most grown. Tempranillo is the wine from the most esteemed classically area in Spain.
Don't ask me what it is. I can see it on your face. I'm not going to know.
Rioja.
Okay.
Okay, so Tempranillo, Rioja is the most respected.
I can see
the most.
you're getting ready to
I
ask
was
me.
all day. I've been thinking, do I ask? Or...
No, you ask them. That's who you ask.
Okay.
They have a lot of different people to spread it out between.
Okay, that sounds good. And we could look at the chat. All right,
Yes.
should have done that anyway.
Yes.
So after Tempranillo, of all things, Bobal, not Monastrell, not these other grapes that we've had. Bobal. It's an important grape.
Sure.
So we needed to enjoy it and see what it's all about.
So that's so weird though, that it's the second, really the second wine grape in Spain. I haven't heard of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So Tempranillo, sure, you've heard of that, right?
Right.
Garnacha, absolutely,
Right.
right? Monastrell, we've had Monastrell. So, and then we went over to Priorat, they're making Syrah and Cab and all these things.
They just don't export this as much, evidently, or
Evidently, it just hasn't caught fire in the world at
Mhm.
large. Honestly, this reminds me of another grape that we drank. This tastes
Mhm.
so much like Nero d'Avola. And once again, so when we drank Nero d'Avola, that's from Sicily. I said it was like the ultimate barbecue red, and
Mhm.
Americans needed to drink more of it
Mhm.
because it's super friendly,
sure.
but has character,
No, this is super friendly too.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it can go.
But I agree, it has character.
It's easy to like,
Mhm.
but it has good quality and character. It's
Mhm.
not a fruit bomb.
No.
It's got a lot of other things going on there.
Mhm.
And anyway, I think it's a pretty cool wine. Yeah, really, that, you know what, that kind of a coffee flavor and baker's chocolate is coming out as it opens up. Excuse me for a minute. It's lovely. All right, next page of Bobal.
Okay.
All right, Bobal made it into Wine Folly, so it's big enough for that. What isn't, because they are awesome.
Mhm.
Hats off. Hat tip. Wine Folly.
You would think that we get like some kind of money from.
No, what I get is awesome information because they are fantastic. Yeah, love those guys.
We needed to start like tagging them in our videos each time.
No, honestly, it's
Maybe
like,
they'll give you a
know
little
what?
kickback. There you go.
I just, you know what, the kickback is getting to watch her videos and things on YouTube. She's fantastic. So anyway, primary flavors, blackberry. All right, we were talking, you know, kind of hitting around. I was thinking, well, blueberry, cherry. How about blackberry? Yeah, that makes more sense. Pomegranate, licorice, not so much. Black tea, cocoa powder, definitely what we're getting in this one. And not everyone will be the same. Could I
this
go
one
black
is-
tea now that I see it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, they say, oh, some people say it's the power of suggestion. I think it just helps you kind of identify where you were going. Where I was kind of bouncing around, calling it a little bit of like a smoky chocolate
Right.
coffee. You know what? I think black tea makes sense.
So I always feel like that's where I am with it. Like once you say, oh, it's these flavors, then I can pick them out. But before that, unless it's super obvious for me, I'm going, I know what that is. What is it? And then, yeah.
Look, I'm not beyond being able to see it and get it. Oh yeah, that's a better descriptor than what I was coming up with. You know, I will throw my own thoughts out there. I guess I better at this point since I'm leading the discussion. But yeah, I'm totally fine with saying, oh yeah, I like that even better. That makes
Right.
a little more sense. It's a little bit more correct than what I was going with.
So, oh, Linda has a question.
Okay.
Hey,
So we were just discussing, the Bobal grape, and I feel like I haven't ever heard of this grape before. So I was just curious, is this ever used in other blends? And what would make it different or distinct? Like, I guess in flavor. I'm really enjoying this wine, but I guess I'm curious about the grape because I feel like I haven't heard about it before. So
Yeah.
Is it usually sold or created as its own single variety, or can it be used in blends? What are the,
have we had this before? We just didn't know it.
I'm just
Yeah, that's a good question. It is a very good question, and not to my knowledge. When I've had Bobal, it's been Bobal. So could it be? Yeah, this clearly could be blended in with the Monastrell or something and kind of work hand in glove. I could totally see that as a blend, but I have not. If I've had it, I have not known either. All right, but I don't believe that it flew under the radar for me.
It doesn't go by other names.
Not that I've seen. No,
Okay.
no. Bobal it's an indigenous. Well, we're going to get into that, but so, but yeah, no, it does seem crazy, right? Because it's really easy to like.
It's very,
got-
yeah. I feel like it's one of those things that if it was somebody who wasn't a red drinker, you kind of ease them into it with this.
I think part of it could be that this is one of those grapes that is consumed largely in country. I mean, there are so many wineries making wine around the world. It never leaves their country.
Sure.
I have people come in all the time and they say, and they'll actually be a little bit confused because they think, well, if you're making wine, you're internationally distributed, right? It's like, no, that is not a thing.
Mhm.
This is the rarefied air. There's not that many people that, compared to all the people making wine, that distribute internationally.
So it's exponentially more that are just selling domestically.
Right.
Okay.
And regionally, and sometimes just in their city. you
Okay.
know, which anyone who goes to
We make this out back and only serve it in this restaurant. That's it.
Italy is so famous for that. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many pictures I got from Julie when she was going through Italy.
Mhm.
Can you get this? Can you get this? Like, no, I can't get any of them. I'm sorry.
It's
They're not
just
here.
there, unfortunately.
I would love to,
Yeah.
but it's not a thing.
Well, I'm sure that it's a much bigger undertaking for them
Mhm.
to figure out how does this work internationally and everything.
Oh, I've dealt
Yeah.
with that side of business,
No, I know you
different
did,
industry,
in
and it's
different
brutal. It's
industry.
really
Yeah.
hard.
Mhm.
So I like the pomegranate. I was talking about like red currant, red fruits to go with the darker. I think pomegranate is a great call on there. Like adjust that.
Can I have some?
Oh,
Sorry.
you know what? That means it was good, everybody.
Well, but if I don't have a refill, it doesn't necessarily mean I don't like it. It just depends on what was going on that day.
Well, there's
Have I pre-gamed? Just depends. Not today. I have
yeah,
not.
I was gonna say
It's been
I
a good
didn't think
day.
so. That's good. All right. So profile on this guy: dry, yes. Medium body, absolutely. I wouldn't say it's viscous, but it is not light bodied.
Mhm.
Medium tannins, sure. Yeah, they're definitely present, but
Yeah.
they're not overwhelming or aggressive. They're kind of smooth.
Mhm.
Medium to high acidity, totally go with that. You know, because we talked about, it's interesting that combination of these dark, like kind of almost dried fruit flavors and nice tanginess the entire time. And look, the ABV kind of caps out at 13 and a half.
Right. So this
it's
is
a
on the high
lower
end.
sugar.
Mhm.
It's a lower sugar grape.
Mhm. So it's interesting because we keep saying this is so like it feels like it might have been in a blend or it feels like so easy drinking or whatever, and it's all like medium, except for the medium high on the acidity. But
Right.
other than that, it's like right down like the middle.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that's nice is higher acid reds are really good for food.
Why?
It helps cut the fat.
Okay, so if it's a lower acid red, it just doesn't, okay, it cuts the fat, so it like cleans off.
So,
cleans
Jeff,
the
say that
fat.
again. It helps cut the palate.
Cut the fat. So when the fat coats your palate, the acidity helps lift it back off. And the tannins.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Jerry said he did some research while here saying it's been a blending wine until recently.
Well, there you go.
So, and that makes sense for how much of it is sold in country then, if it's been a
Right.
blending wine. There was another grape that you told us about too, that is like, it's very high because it is blended so often. I can't remember which one it was, but I remember hearing that.
Malbec? Tonight?
I mean, I'm not going to remember which one it was. I just remember you saying that.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Moving on. Good call. Thank you, Jerry. So that's good. All right. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about, kind of like we looked at the lineup of characteristics, medium, medium, medium.
Right.
It's, it's one of those where it's.
So is it in the intermediate zone then?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's kind of medium intensity, medium thickness on the skin.
Okay.
Medium amount of acid, medium amount of flavor in the intermediate zone. So kind of a balance. Let's call it balance. That sounds pretty. Right?
That sounds better.
It's
sounds
a
better.
balanced red grape. And the difference, so red grape, red wine, right? But sometimes it's black grape, red wine. What's the difference?
I don't know. They all look the same. You've shown us so many pictures of red grapes and they all look like blueberries.
Yes, right. The difference is the intensity and thickness of the skin. All right. So when they'll call them a black grape, they're all red grapes, but they will call some of them black
Mhm.
if they are particularly
Like tonight.
to not maybe because it's not all it's
No.
it's not always like more like Malbec.
Susan
You know how
Malbec.
purpley dark Malbec can be.
Yes, I remember exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Just to have it all up here.
Anyway,
I let you.
that's
be
a
the
different. I
keeper
looked it up because I
one.
was like, well, why are they? Because they're all red grapes,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes they refer to them as, oh, it's a black grape, but it's more of a casual.
But I
kind of
feel
term.
like there was one, and maybe I'm misremembering, but that was in South Africa. That was like you said, it was very hard to grow, and that's why a lot of people don't grow.
Mhm.
Is it Tanat? What is it? That's in
Pinotage.
Pinotage.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's one of those small grapes with the thick skins, right?
Pinotage is a version of Pinot Noir. They were hoping to make Pinot Noir easy to grow.
Right.
They failed. All right.
Mhm.
It makes an amazing
Mhm.
wine
Mhm.
when grown properly, but it's super finicky too, just like Pinot Noir.
So is it a small grape with the thick skin?
Pinotage.
No, I'm completely wrong. Completely
No,
misremembering.
no,
He's just trying to say it nicely.
no, it's not. Yeah, I don't know about the size of the grape versus other grapes. It
Mhm.
certainly has a thick skin because it has some nice
Okay.
tannin to it,
Mhm.
intense flavors.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but Pinot Noir has a thinner skin, so
Mhm.
it's probably more of an intensity rather than
Okay.
than a thickness on the skin.
Okay.
So
All right. But this one,
this one kind of
Mhm.
medium, right across, balanced.
medium.
It's a balanced grape.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
Okay. After the recording, I have something to say about medium.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Ooh.
All right. Wine term of the week, amphora. What are these?
And I
Right?
haven't heard you say this ever, so I would love to know what
Okay.
this is.
So an amphora, this is the
Mhm.
name given to wines which are either fermented or aged in a clay vessel.
Oh, maybe I have heard this.
Mhm.
Did you say this at the live wine tasting?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, because we just had one, the Catena, the
Mhm.
natural wine.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was amphora aged.
Mhm.
All right. So it, at some point in the creation of this wine, a clay pot was used. All right. So it can be the fermentation, it can be the aging. Either way, it's in there. And that will apply to what we're drinking tonight.
Is that giving it the minerality?
Yes.
Okay.
It gives a really nice minerality to it and helps kind
I
of
got
pull
one
out
right.
if there's already clay minerality involved
Mhm.
in the growing,
It magnifies that.
it magnifies it.
Okay.
So let's see if there's a reason for that. Probably is.
There's a reason for it magnifying or for using the amphora.
There's probably a reason that they're using the amphora to magnify clay qualities.
Okay, because clay is readily available there, so it was
Mhm.
cheap and available.
Well, if that's the growing medium and you want to enhance the terroir characteristic that
Okay.
you're going to get anyway,
All
you see?
right, there you go.
That's it. Okay, so where are we? We are in España. We are down here, so just
Oh, wow.
south of the center
Mm-hmm.
of the
But very south
the growing
Spain,
latitude. Yeah.
then if you're.
So we're in southeast Spain.
Okay.
Here we go. So we're in Valencia. And let's go in a little bit more. The Utiel and Requena. All right. This is where this grape originates. It's indigenous to this area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of cool. First written about in the 1400s. They said, hey, this grape makes good wine.
Mhm.
Boom. That's so I think, I think it's kind of cool. I love when you get these grapes where you say, all right, the origin is here. Here it is.
Right.
They're still making it.
It was called Bobal then too. Like, how do they? I'm always wondering. Like, okay, you said, "Oops, I hit the mouse."
Mhm.
Just kidding. You guys didn't see any of that.
Mhm.
I mean, how do they know it's referring to that grape unless it's the same name?
Oh, it probably was the same name.
Okay.
Yeah. Or they watched the evolution. The name became this, the name became that,
Okay.
and followed it backward. So here, Do.
So did I see, because this was the map before, it's on the Mediterranean there?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So that close to the ocean. So it's close enough that there is a maritime influence. We talk about maritime influence. What is that? Well, it's going to add a bit of a cooling breeze to help moderate the intensity of the sun during the day. Intense sun, but not necessarily as intensive of temperatures,
Okay.
because it helps to keep it down a little. Then the other thing is every morning there's going to be a lot of dew. So it gives it a really nice, kind of a bath for all those grapes and a drink for the grapes,
Okay.
for the vines, excuse me. Then it's also very arid. So there's a dramatic temperature swing. So when the sun goes down, all of a sudden, boom, it drops like 20 degrees. So it gives them longer hang time, not much rain, gentle moisture, just a little bit from the mornings, and allows them to keep the grapes on these vines a long time. And we're dealing with, in this case, also very old vines, which is what's on the label here. Is that gnarled old
1400s. I mean,
yeah. I mean, now, obviously,
I mean, the
these
vines
grapes,
aren't,
right?
yeah,
Exactly.
600 years old,
Yeah.
but
And the soil here is chalk and clay,
shocking.
almost like an amphora. That's where I was going.
Well, it's so funny because we hear, like, we've been in Europe, we've been to Spain, we've been to Italy,
Mhm.
we've been to France,
Right.
we've been to Germany.
Mhm.
Have we been?
Australia.
That's not Europe.
Oh, you're talking about, sorry. Sorry.
It's,
I was looking at my
that's
notes.
Europe South. But I was thinking, we've been all around, and again we hear, oh, this is, it's arid, and it's like all the ways you're describing the climate that are so good for long hang time. And I'm like, and that's why England doesn't have a bunch of wine, because it's like rainy and stuff, right? Do they
Yes.
have some?
They do.
Okay.
The southern tip of
I
England.
was going to say it's got to be in the South.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So you would like for me to advance?
Yes. So, like I said, chalk and clay soil. Let's go ahead and move on.
All right.
So let's take a look. There it is. Valencia.
It's always so interesting for me to see, and I know I've said this before, but that you see these vines and they're so, well, depending on the time, because I know you like to throw the fall pictures too, but they're so verdant and they're so healthy looking and everything. And then you see the soil and you think, I would never think that could grow anything in it. And that's where it just makes me wonder, is there anything else that really likes to struggle like that? Because the only thing I've heard of is vines for wine grapes.
Right.
I mean, you would never plant like corn in that soil.
I would not think so.
Yeah.
It's like, we want our corn to struggle.
It makes the whiskey better. So, but you can make whiskey out of corn, right? Or is that vodka?
No, you can do a corn base.
All right, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, anyway.
Jeff keeps all of my alcohol knowledge for me. I don't need to learn any of that.
So, that would be moonshine. Corn base is moonshine.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, there you go.
Yeah. I mean,
if you have any math
but
questions, you can come to me.
No, you
don't
age
come
it.
to me with any alcohol
you
questions.
age it in barrels. Boom. There you go.
Okay.
All right. So, but you can see, like, and look at the little tiny new vines over to the far right. So, not drinking.
So, I mean, that makes me wonder if, like, they had these very old vines that just weren't producing anymore and pulled out, because clearly it's part of their land. Yeah.
Probably, because you can see it runs all the way down. A little river back there. Yeah.
Down to that. Ready?
All right. Yep. All right. So here we have after the pruning.
Here are the older vines. You can see how thick they are compared to the other ones.
Yeah, they're like they've been pruned. So these guys, you see, there's not a trellis above them.
Right.
So most likely, because this does happen quite a bit in Spain, that would just be allowed to grow out into a mound.
Okay.
And it's literally called, very scientifically, mound.
So they look
as
like
the
little
style.
bushes.
Yeah, they look like bushes, and then they grow their grapes. So.
Yeah, that's so interesting to see the difference between when they have like a trellis for them to grow on, or if they just let them naturally do what they will.
Grow as you please.
Yes.
All right. Next one.
Before we move on, do you know what these are? These like little wildflowers?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that would add to the flavor?
Add to character,
Mhm.
and it may or may not affect the flavor of the vines at all. A lot of times they will let them grow because they will help with the soil.
Okay.
Mhm.
These are both this winery?
Yeah. No, this is just the area.
Oh, this is the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so here's a close up of the chalkiness. So
Mhm.
those would be the white chunks, and then clay, right?
Yeah, because this
So-
looks very different from the previous picture.
Right. So clay can either be gray or red,
Mhm.
right? But the chalkiness is the big thing I wanted to show, that when that's present, it's those chunks of white chalk, in the soil.
Yeah.
Adding minerality,
Mhm.
not giving you a lot of organic material to work with.
But adding that minerality adds the acid in the,
It basically it adds a combination. It can add to acidity,
Mhm.
all right, because of lack of over ripening,
Okay.
and so slow ripening. So you get that, you get a kind of
Mm-hmm.
a fresh fruit that's not overly ripe. The riper they get, the lower the acid becomes.
oh,
So,
okay.
and then at the same time as it's slowly ripening, but not over ripening, you're going to get more minerality pulled up in there. There's a debate over whether you can really taste the minerality
Okay.
in there or not just in this area, but in the world. There's a whole article I was reading where people were saying, nope, I don't buy it. You cannot taste the minerals it was grown on.
Okay.
So there's a whole fight going
It's
on.
a whole battle between.
Though I will say I had a Chilean Sauv Blanc today
Mhm.
that was grown right near the ocean that almost knocked me off my chair with salinity. So don't tell me there's no minerality being transferred to
Okay,
these
so maybe
grapes.
it's actually a debate between the super tasters and the non-super tasters
Yeah.
that like the super tasters are like, yeah, 100% we taste it.
Right.
But if you're not a super taster,
I don't know.
maybe you're just
I
not
will
tasting
say
it. So it's true for each of them.
this Sauv Blanc tasted like a dirty martini. It was so salty. I couldn't believe it.
A soft blanc, but wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay.
It won't be at the store. Anyway. All right. So let's get to the Mourvèdre. All right. This is kind of interesting. They believe that they work with old vine, low yield Bobal, right? So it's kind of like what that field was that we saw that was
Mhm.
trimmed on. Really old. They're not going to make a lot of grapes per acre.
Just high quality.
Right, just really good
Mhm.
quality grapes. They run, owned by the Schenk family, which is a Swiss winemaking group.
Yeah, I was like,
So
Shank is not. Shank.
Yeah, they're actually Swiss, and they've been making wine since 1893, and they own vineyards in Switzerland, France, Germany, Spain, and Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big group, but it's still family owned. They're still involved in the wine that is being made, choosing locations for a
Mhm.
specific reason.
So they're definitely doing things based on what grows best in this area.
Right.
Okay.
And they want to get, character, and they do believe they believe in every one of their wines. They're involved in all their wines. It's not
Mhm.
just, oh, here's a table wine, drink it.
Okay.
It's so it's one of those, just because a company is big doesn't mean that they're
Right.
not directly involved. I mean, it's still family controlled.
I mean, that's very impressive.
It's been a
Since-
long time.
Yeah, you said since the 1800s.
1893. And they established
That is a long time to keep a family business going.
right.
Whew.
And
Yeah.
Mourvèdre,
Mhm.
so they've owned that since 1927. They didn't just buy this in like the 80s
So almost
and
100
90s.
years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So actually, if you go to the next slide, they're talking about this was in 2017, the 90th anniversary. And do you see amphora? Giant, those are big amphora that they're fermenting the
Yes.
wine in.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why that was our term of the week.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right?
Mhm.
I think that's pretty cool. Those are no, amphora also can apply to, and the ancient Greeks that was their version of a bottle. They were small.
Okay.
They were these clay pots with a lid,
Mhm.
and that was their version of a bottle of wine, was an amphora of wine. So it's not always
Mhm.
been part of the
Mhm.
creation process, but it is now. That when amphora now are for making the wine.
No, that's kind of fascinating because clearly if you're sending someone home with a bottle that's amphora, the longer it's in that bottle, the more it's being affected.
Oh yeah.
Until you get to a balance where it's, it's not anymore. But a glass bottle is adding nothing to it.
Right. Yeah. It's inert.
Right. So when you're sticking in a glass bottle and you're saying this is what it is, the only thing that's going to change is whether it can age or whatever, but if you're sending it home in something that's actually going to affect the wine, I would think you'd have to say, okay, so it's going to taste like this here because it's going to change much more than just it being affected by itself over time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that would be true. I think back when they were using amphora, no one was aging wine.
Oh, they were just taking
They
it
were
home and
just
drinking it.
They were drinking it. It wasn't.
Life is hard. I'm drinking this.
They
We're done.
were lower alcohol back then too.
Okay.
Much, rudimentary fermentation techniques, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
That's why, like the origin of the 750 milliliter bottle comes from, gosh, 1500s. The reason they chose that size, like why 750 milliliters,
it looks like a throwback, honestly.
Right. Well, in this bottle, yeah, especially, but any 750 milliliter bottle, right? Why are they 750 milliliters? It was because that was the amount your average man, sorry everybody, but that was how they measured it. Your average man would drink one bottle with a meal.
One bottle.
One bottle. But don't forget, they were lower alcohol back then.
Okay. All right.
And so and we're talking about European meals, which are hours long. So
true.
That was what they decided. Because they bottles were all kinds of sizes, right? And they said, all right, we need to come together on this and get something reasonable, that we're all going to get behind. And the 750 milliliters comes from the decision that was a reasonable amount for one single man to drink during one meal.
When did that come about?
I think the 1500s, if I remember correctly. I know the rest of it, and I didn't expect to tell the story, so I didn't refresh my memory on when it happened.
All right. So because what's interesting about that is we have a 750 milliliter bottle basically everywhere in the world, which makes sense that the new world would just go whatever the old world was doing. But like, were they coming together it's really Europe. Were they coming together and saying, hey, this is what we're going to do? Or was it just like France was like, no, this is what we're doing, or Italy, or?
I don't know all those details.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's been around for
hundreds of years. I know that was the decision why it was made. I don't know exactly how all the rest of it went. It'd be fun
where that decision was made.
Right. I don't know where, I don't know how it was pushed out,
Okay.
That kind of a thing. But I do know that the genesis of that idea of that size bottle was the amount one man would drink during one meal, during dinner.
Okay.
Yep.
That's very interesting. Obviously, with the higher alcohol content, that would change.
Exactly.
If you were making that decision.
It's definitely much higher now. It was probably 8 or 9% back then.
That is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Why was it that compared to where it's 8 or 9% for a red, for a white?
Probably for red. Yeah.
Okay. So what changed in this? Sorry, guys, but this started a whole question in my mind. So what, because it's still winemaking.
All right. So we're going to get into winemaking now.
Okay.
Which
It
goes
doesn't have
beyond,
to be a long story. You can just
right. But there's a whole bunch, right?
All right.
We're better at growing grapes. So we're making grapes that have more sugar.
Okay.
Right. We're better at fermentation. We have healthier fermentations because we have temperature control.
Oh, okay.
All right. So those are two significant, and there may be more factors,
Right.
but those are two huge factors in addition to sanitation, so that the yeast is not competing with other bacteria and things trying to ferment the grape. And it's just that one yeast, which is going to be optimal.
Okay.
So that kind of a thing.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that applies to beer too. Like our beer is much stronger now than it was. Okay. All right, cool.
All right. So no ratings on this guy. So let's look at our, our standard sheet here. So I like to say every single time, 80s are good wines that you should drink. and 90s are outstanding wines that you should drink. And so what do we have here? We have an unusual wine, off the beaten path. I think very delicious and drinkable. What are your thoughts? Is this guy an outstanding wine, a very good wine, a good wine? And here we are, we're into this wine. What are we talking about? $17 normal price, so $15 on sale.
I mean, I have no idea. You're
Yeah, I know.
asking me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So anyway, this is a casually priced wine. Is it a good, solid, good buy? Does it perform above its price point? And we're like, yeah, you know what? Booyah. So what do you guys think? Let's see.
And for those of you who have asked questions in the chat, I promise you that we will get to those questions. Okay, so we've got a 90 from Paul and an 89 from Linda.
Okay.
That 1 point is a big difference.
It is. It is a big difference in the wine world.
89 from either Jerry or Harriet. Oh, Jerry. Brenda and Linda, 89 for us, but to be honest, we have nothing to compare with. First time with this grape. Me too. I know it's okay. Don't have to read. No rating from us.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So for me, I would do like a 90 only because the difference between the 89 and 90 for me is looking at that description of medium. I think it fits that. And I think it's an easily drinkable red wine, but I think it does fit whereas like for me drinking a red, I want to be more challenged with my palate.
Sure.
But for what this grape is described as, it seems to totally fit that. So, I mean, maybe I should give it higher because of that. But anyway, yeah, I think it fits that. Like,
I get it. It's right.
Yeah.
Look, this is a good, easy to pair, delicious wine that just works really flexibly. It's a flexible pairing wine, and it's delicious. So yeah, I would totally go there as well. It's like, all right, 88 to 90. I'm all over every one of those ratings.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's a well-made wine. I'm glad I drank it. I'm glad I got to know Bobal.
Right.
And know what it is.
Well, that's
and I think this really gives a beautiful version of, okay, now you know.
Now you know what Bobal is like, right? And that's what the tastings are for, is to, absolutely. So, okay, so let's go to some of the other questions and I can stop the share a moment while we do that. So if we go back, we have, that's offensive to grapes because I said they all looked alike. And then, what was that Sauv Blanc? So Linda, Paul, one of you, what was that question?
Oh, that was the Sauv Blanc I was talking about that tasted like a dirty martini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Maybe not on the recording. And then Brenda and Linda, we have various bottle sizes here. Does that happen worldwide?
All right. So yes, but they're all at this point defined.
Okay.
So you've got, the 750 is standard. You can have a split, which is 375. You can have a single 187. And then you can have a Magnum 1.5.
And that's
everything
standard across.
There are standards now.
Okay.
And before it was literally all over the place. There were, and not that there aren't 500s, there are 500s in the dessert wine world, but still things are defined. I mean, back before they did this, there were 562 milliliters, like it was all over the place.
Whatever the winemaker or whatever they deal they got on the bottles or whatever.
It was probably like their local friend said, I like this shape, and that kind of a thing. So that was the reason to say, give them some things to aim for. It needs to have this as far as a volume. Yeah.
And then Jerry said he would drink it again.
Nice. You know what?
I'm assuming because Harriet's back in the picture, so I'm thinking she agrees with that. Yeah.
And you know what? This is my second bottle in the last 2 weeks. Plus, I tasted it, a couple of months ago. I like drinking this wine. I think it's good. Yeah, it makes me happy. I like it.
So are we gonna reveal next week?
Yes.
Okay,
let's-
look, Paul, they finished it.
Nice.
Yep. I just saw him upend it.
That's a nice wine. Yeah.
Okay. So,
All right. So let's go
For
to thank
next
our
week.
sources.
okay, not next week.
That's right.
Thank the sources.
Wine Folly, because they're awesome.
What?
I know. I'm super fan. 750.com, Wikipedia, Tuscany Distributors, that's who I get this from. It's such a small producer. I had to get a lot of information from the distributor.
Okay.
Murviedro Winery had a little bit of information about themselves. And the Guild of Master Sommelier. Actually, I think I just took a picture
Okay.
from in there, but
Good to include our sources.
yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, all our sources. So next week, what are we drinking? I thought that we would go back, because we're on a run of having some fun with unusual grapes.
Mhm.
So I thought I'd try something really new.
Okay.
It's a Cabernet Sauvignon. Have you had that? All right. So,
Nope. Completely unfamiliar.
but we are going to Walla Walla, Washington.
Haven't we been there once before?
We did with a Syrah. So
Okay.
we've not done a
All right.
cab. So I thought that would be really fun. So
Sure.
Le Collet 41 Cabernet Sauvignon from Walla Walla, which is so much fun,
It's so much fun to say.
right?
Mhm.
Great ratings, delicious cab. And let me just say to all of you, you're welcome. All right.
Well, and
It's
Chris
delicious.
and Robin said they love Walla Walla. So
Yeah, this is a great wine.
Mhm.
Honestly, I've been meaning to bring this wine in for years, and
Mhm.
I kept like getting distracted. And my wine rep today is like, finally, you've loved this wine for years. You keep
Mhm.
saying how good it is. So, food pairings. By the way, I'm trying to get creative because with so many of these red wines, the food pairings could be the same.
right.
So, pot roast with leeks and mushrooms, literally my recipe.
Oh, true. Yeah. Actually, you should give out your recipe. It's good.
Oh, thanks.
Mhm.
Rosemary braised lamb shanks and moussaka. It's a eggplant dish.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good. You should always throw in at least one vegetarian dish.
Well-
so that's great. Yeah. Because I will not be eating lamb shakes. I'm sure
No,
they're
I know you
I'm
won't.
sure they're
No.
very delicious, but
Yeah.
I don't eat baby animals. So
Yes. So anyway, let's jump back to us. I know someone was talking to me today, like, "Whoa, do you want to try this? You should try this recipe for a lamb dish." I'm like, "Can't.
my wife will not.
My
eat it.
wife won't eat it." She'll look at me just accusingly.
Mm.
So I hope you guys will join us.
Okay, so
It's gonna
I'm
be
thinking
delicious.
it's Harriet that said, "OMG, love this wine." Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's only because Harriet.
We've
likes
had it many times, this particular one. It's very good.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really like it. Mhm.
Oh, this wine, she meant, I think
Oh,
she meant
the
next
one?
week's wine,
Okay.
which you have
I
not had.
like this one because I think actually it's a shame, Brian, it's a shame their anniversary fell on this because I think
Oh,
Brian would
yeah.
actually have liked this one,
I agree.
but.
No, this is a cool wine. I
Mhm.
carry it in the store for a reason. I
Right.
like this wine.
So I don't think I've had the cab for next week though.
You have never had this.
Okay, so I'm very excited.
Would you like a refill?
Mm,
Yeah.
I've had 2 glasses. I'm
Okay.
good.
All right. All right. Let's go ahead and have a toast
Okay.
with your dregs.
Mhm.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.